Welcome to Alternative Dog Moms Podcast. I'm Kimberly Gauthier, the creator of Keep the Tail Wagging. For the past 9 years, I've been blogging about raw feeding, pet wellness, and life as a crazy dog mom. I've seen massive improvements in my dog's health since I started raising my dogs naturally, and I'm passionate about sharing my experience to help other pet parents.
I'm Erin Scott. For the past 9 years, I've been researching and learning everything I can about healing cancer, allergies, autoimmune, and mystery illnesses in both my dogs and myself, and I can't wait to share with you everything I've learned on this journey. As the Alternative Dog Moms, we're bringing you all the latest dog health news that we're following and sharing the tips, tricks, and resources we learn along the way. Now, let's get started. Hello, Kimberly.
Hello, Erin.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am great.
So, because I can't wait, how is your dog doing?
So, yes, we talked last time about Nino's soul session with Dr. Isla Fishburn, and when we recorded it, it had only been like a couple days, and I remember thinking we thought that Nino had just seemed a little calmer and just a little more comfortable, less reactive to like the wind and the rain and things that usually kind of keep him on edge. So we had a big adventure around here this past weekend. So the dogs both had appointments with the chiropractor and then with our veterinarian. So we had to drive, it's about an hour, and they actually live very close to each other and they both work out of their homes. So we had to like drive for an hour, go to the chiropractor, we went to Chick-fil-A and got lunch and then went to the vet. So Nino's been to the chiropractor, I'd say maybe like half a dozen times. Penny's been going for years. She's older. But we like just kind of started bringing him, I think during like, it's been like since COVID started, because I think this was the first time we ever saw her without a mask on. Mm-hmm. But so normally when we get there, Nino spends the whole time kind of standing by the door before we came in, like looking to leave. And this time was very different. And he was actually like seeking out the chiropractor.
Nice.
And he gave her a kiss right on the lips that he has never done that to anyone other than Tim and I.
Oh, wow.
We were like, oh my God. She was like, oh my God, because she knows and, heard all about him. And he was like, really, like, he was like leaning all into her and kind of.
Oh, I love it.
And we were like, oh my God. And so, like I said, we've definitely been like several times before and he has never acted like that. Uh-huh. He still was uncomfortable in the car. He just kind of pants the whole time and he's up and he's down and he's up and he's down. And so then we went and got lunch. He was very happy about that. And then we went to the veterinarians. And again, he was like way more cooperative, not trying to escape. And he almost gave her a kiss. He kind of like went in for it. And then at the last minute, he was kind of like, I don't know. And then, during Penny's session, he just curled up and went to sleep. I mean, he was probably very tired. It had been a long day for him thus far. But normally he's like pacing again. He's always like at the door, like, I know this is where I get out. And usually Tim will just take him for like a walk or something while we're treating Penny. But this time he just was like, okay, I'm just going to curl up here and go to sleep. And we were really shocked. And I sent Isla a note and just told her, like, we have seen definite changes in him being just more comfortable, more trusting. It was an interesting experience, that's for sure.
That makes me want to try it with my dogs because that is, I would wonder, I'm trying to think in my head, like which dog would benefit the most from it or that I'm most curious about. And I'm thinking it would be fun to try it with Zoe because she's not really for any reason. I always feel like she's the odd girl out because she's the only girl in the house. And so, but yeah, that sounds fantastic.
Yes, we were shocked. I mean, we did not expect to see any super noticeable difference in him, but that was a very noticeable difference.
Yeah. When Sydney was alive, I took her to a chiropractor before her chiropractor abandoned us and moved to Arizona. But I would take her like a couple times a month and then we went monthly. And she would crawl. At first, she was sort of, standing by the door, ignoring, like if the vet was trying to talk to her, she would turn her head like, I can't see you. I'm not acknowledging you. But probably, I don't know if it was after the second or third appointment. It probably was a third appointment, like when she clued in that when I come here, I feel so much better. And it started with chiropractic adjustments, and then we added in acupuncture. And there is a day, I think I have a picture of it on my blog somewhere, where she crawled into the vet's lap.
Aww.
And she would start, like if me and the vet are talking, she would go up, sit next to the vet and just start scratching her, like, talk and do the needles at the same time. You need to get to work. And it was so sweet because it was just like, oh, this is her happy place now. She makes the connection. So I love that. These dogs are so cool.
They are.
Well, Scout had his second massage therapy appointment today, and she came to the house. Last time he was very much, like giving the treats, and eventually he laid down and let her do the massaging. This time he was very like, no, if you want to touch me, I have to have a treat. Nope. You touch me again, you need to give me a treat. I mean, he was so obnoxious. And then he went to a different room. And so she followed him and he was like, okay, we'll do it here. And then he like relaxed a little bit. And I was just like, okay, I'm going to back away because I forgot my camera and I was going to take a picture of him. But the second he couldn't see me, he was up and like, oh, where's she going? So I was like, damn it. But it was funny because she was just like, I think he's done. She's like, we got a good massage in. He's okay. And probably 15 minutes after she left, he was passed out on the ground.
Aww.
So I was just like, okay, good. At least you got something.
Was it at a different time of day than before?
No, it was the same time, mid-afternoon. And I walked him beforehand. I was hoping that like walking him beforehand would like kind of calm down that energy. But I think it was too soon. Like I should have walked him this morning and let him calm down. I think he was still geared up from the walk. I do think that the massage therapy is helping because his lymph nodes can't be felt anywhere, which is a good sign that if he's not in remission, he's this close. So hopefully we'll get there next week.
Yay.
Yay is right.
I've noticed with Penny, if I schedule her for a vet appointment, because sometimes her vet office is actually, our vet's house is actually right near my office. And so sometimes I'll take her to work with me and we'll go after work or something. And I've learned the hard way that I need to make sure I bring her dinner with her, even if she's eating a little earlier than usual. But I guess she's doing extra walking, extra stairs and stuff when she's at the office with me. And she gets like hangry. She's like cooperative. And it is nothing like the usual Penny. And so I was like, oh, note to self, Penny gets hangry.
I know tonight, Johan is feeding the dogs. I made the meals, and so they were sitting on the counter. And then I was like, I put a Post-it, like, I was like, you need to give them their right bowls. And I was like, I got to go upstairs. But usually tonight in the evening, they don't have a meal. They'll have bone broth or they'll have kefir for dinner. But I was so out of it today and I didn't thaw the kefir. I hate when I do that. So they got to eat. But instead of giving them their regular food, I just gave them grass-fed beef and salmon, some canned salmon, and a duck wing. And that's just a little light meal. And I think probably in 2 hours, they'll get green beans as a nighttime snack. And then that's it for the day.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We have a whole routine here. It's insane. They are so lucky. But about the grass-fed beef. So I'm reviewing The Farmer's Dog. Mm-hmm. This is my choice. They didn't ask me to review them. I'm actually pretty convinced that the owner or the founder of the company doesn't like me. So I wouldn't expect them to reach out to me at all. But I got the food. I got the beef and the pork because they're both neutral proteins. And I figure Rodrigo, he's the one that's going to eat the food. He would do best on it. And what I didn't expect was the passion that folks have about The Farmer's Dog. I mean, there's a lot of people that are like, yes, I used to feed that to my dog, or I do feed that to my dog. My dog loves it. I'm hearing from a lot of people who have senior dogs and their dogs went off of raw. And now they feed their dogs cooked food. And in the past just week, not even a whole week, I've learned about like small batch now has a lightly cooked recipe.
Yeah.
And so I just ordered a little bit of that to see how Rodrigo likes that. So another review. People are recommending, like, there's, what is it? Raised Right is a food that I've heard of a few times. It's not something that's available through my co-op or through the store, but I might check those out too. But it's interesting to see other people who are having senior dogs who are just like, yeah, they're just not really into raw anymore. So that's awesome. On the flip side, there are people who have issues with their sourcing, their ingredients, their price, which, yeah, it is expensive. And I understand the price part. I mean, that's just the way it goes. But I was really surprised by the number of people who passionately don't care for the farmer's dog. And I don't quite understand why, really, because I don't really see the farmer's dog as like going out and harming dogs or anything, but it's been quite the eye-opener. But I sent them a list of questions just based on the conversations that I was seeing. And they were kind enough and they fully answered all of my questions in an email back. I got that this morning. So I'm excited about that so I can wrap up the review. But during this conversation, someone brought up the fact that they didn't like the farmer's dog because they use factory farm meats. And in my head, I'm thinking 3D, 4D meat, but that's not the same thing, which I learned, thank God. But what I found interesting is I'm so used to fresh food, whether it be cooked or raw, being so focused on getting the best quality, like working with local farmers and providing the best quality. And, basically not really bragging about it, but that's a big marketing point.
Right.
I mean, Open Farm is a kibble company. I mean, they have freeze dried and other foods now, but they started as a kibble company. And that has always been their claim to fame, is that you can tie their ingredients back to local farms. And so I was just sort of like, wow, I can't believe that this is a pet food company in the fresh food community that isn't using local farms exclusively. And so I reached out to someone that I can't name, but we all love and respect, to ask her, what does this mean? And so she asked me not to quote her. So that's why I'm not saying her name. But she explained that, and this makes perfect sense, that a few years ago, these brands, providing food that was sourced from local farms, it was actually easy to do. But as the demand for this has gone up, both in the human world and in the pet food world, the price point has gone up. Mm-hmm. And so the amount of inventory out there is going down, and the price of what's out there is a lot higher. And if a brand wants to keep their price point at a reasonable level for their customers, they're going to have to start expanding where they source their meat from. And so they may not be directly walking up to the doors of a factory farm and saying, hey, do you have any meat for me? But one of their suppliers is getting meat from places that are factory farmed. And the suppliers actually get meat from numerous different places. So it's not always clear where this lot of meat is going to be coming from, as I understand it. So it's one of those where, everyone's doing the best that they can. It's hard to keep everything as clean as we'd like it to be and keep the price point affordable so that more people can transition their dogs to a healthier diet. And so, yeah, that kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I also learned that just because a company says that their food is grass-fed, grass-finished, doesn't mean that it's grass-fed and grass-finished, because the USDA, as far as the guidelines, as I understand it, someone told me that most beef in America is actually grain-finished. Yes. And they do this to fatten them up before they go to market.
Yeah, I've heard that. which,
by the way, as a kid, did you understand, like, this little piggy goes to market, that the pig was, I thought the pig was going shopping.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say about the same thing.
So but okay, just a little aside. But yeah, so it's one of those where we have to either know the farms that we're getting our food from, or be willing to research a brand if we find a grass-fed, grass-finished product in the store. And someone was disappointed because she was so proud to be getting all of her dog's food from a farm, and it was grass-fed, grass-finished. And she found out years later that it actually wasn't grass-finished, and that grain was part of the cow's diet. And I wanted to like tell her it's okay,
Right.
but I didn't. I refrained from doing that because it's okay to me. I mean, I would prefer grass-fed, grass-finished, especially if I'm paying a premium price for grass-fed,
Which you do.
grass-finished.
Yeah.
Exactly. So yeah, definitely. And I think that that's what was frustrating to her, was that it wasn't that she didn't, it's not so much that, this person misled her that she has an issue with. It's the fact that they increased their prices to reflect grass-fed, grass-finished when they knew that they weren't offering grass-fed, grass-finished. But I still wonder, like in the USDA realm, is there some type of like loophole where if you sprinkle some grass into the grain, it counts as grass-finished type of thing?
Right. Oh, I'm sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure there's some sort of fine print somewhere.
So yeah, that has been an interesting educational point. Is just, it's kind of exhausting because it's just like, I have to research something else.
I know.
I'm tired of this. I'm tired of questioning everyone and not trusting people.
And it is like frustrating to be like another thing.
Yes.
Like, how many hours do I have in a day? I will personally go down all those rabbit holes, but I enjoy that kind of thing. My husband, on the other hand, is like, oh my God, that's why he married me,
I know. I feel like, I mean, I love my dogs and I want them to have the best, but it is kind of, I remember years ago when people used to talk about balance and people would be like, you don't even do this for yourself. So why are you putting all this stress and energy into your dog? And today it feels like, with the conversation about the grass-fed grain, one person was just like, I just prefer the taste of grain-fed meat. And so that's what my dogs eat because I prefer it. And I don't eat meat enough to have decided if I have a preference between grass-fed and grain-fed. But I'm tired of feeling like I got it right. But I think that that's sort of like what happens whenever I start feeling comfortable in how I'm feeding my dogs, something like this comes up. And because I can't just let it go, I want to be that person that's just like, who cares? But it's like, it'll stay in my head. And then before you know it, I'm reading articles.
Yes. And that's why you have a blog, and that's why we're doing a podcast, because the kind of rabbit holes that we go down.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're listening, I personally think that grass-fed, grass-finished is better than grain-fed cows, only because I'm concerned about the grains and how are they stored, what's in them, what do they mix into them, as far as like if they're stored in a warehouse for a long period of time, what type of mold or anything that is growing in them that might be impacting the dogs, but also because I wonder, it feels like grass-fed cattle, because they're valuable, that they are cared for differently. And I get this mindset because I was reading up on, bison and the benefits of feeding bison. And people say that it's because, there isn't a ton of bison out there. And so the ones that are there, they are pasture raised, grass-fed, grass-finished. They lead a very good life, humanely slaughtered. I know some people think that that's an oxymoron, but so I kind of take that and apply it to grass-fed, grass-finished cows too. At least I hope that they're not exposed to chemicals and antibiotics, and they're not they don't have the need for the fattening up at the end. That the meat is leaner and healthier. But who knows?
And one of the other things that I understand, the benefits is like the whole grass-fed has more omega-3s and has a healthier omega-3 to omega-6 ratio, whereas grain-fed has the unhealthy fats in it. And so that's what I have always looked at as one of the bigger benefits.
Yeah, that's a good point.
why we seek it out for ourselves too. I mean, we're very fortunate. The county where we live in is known for all the local farms. Mm-hmm. And so we have this great regenerative agricultural farm where we get our human meat from. And you can go and visit the animals, and they welcome you to come out, and they want you to see what they're doing, and they want you to see the cows and see the fields and everything. And I also just want to say right now, super randomly, but kind of on a similar vein, that chickens are not supposed to be vegetarians. And so whenever you're in the grocery store and you see those, vegetarian fed hens, chickens are not supposed to be vegetarians. They're supposed to eat insects and things like that. So, it just made me think of it because that's another thing they do at the farm.
No, it is. It's a good point. I read that in one of the articles where it talked about the labeling, and because we don't know, it sounds good. And one thing that it said, one of the articles said that grass-fed, grass-finished is not the same as vegetarian-fed. Mm-hmm. Because vegetarian-fed, that can be anything. Mm-hmm. It's just not meat. And, but it was kind of, I'm trying not to think the worst of people for taking advantage of loopholes that are created there. But it is like so frustrating because it's just like, you guys are making my life so much harder by making me do all the research to make sure that I can safely feed your food to my dog, which most likely I can, and there's not going to be any issue. Because I too live in an area where, I'm surrounded by farms. The bulk of the things that I buy for my dogs comes from local farms. So, I'm fairly confident that my dogs are fine. And I was just kind of aggravated because I learned about all this right after I bought out all of the grass-fed, grass-finished beef for the second time, but at a different grocery store because it was on sale. And I'm just sitting here like, do I take it back? Because I'm not sure. And then I was just like, you know what? No, my dogs are eating this.
I mean, it's still better than 99% of what's out there.
Exactly.
It's one of those cost benefit things. Like, I know might not be 100% the best, but it's still 99% the best.
Yeah, exactly. So I just like, I can't do this to myself. It's good information to have. The more we know, the better we do. But it's just like, I'm not going to kill myself over this because ultimately it's like the person that said that she prefers grain-fed beef, and she's like, I don't know about my dogs. They'll eat anything. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty much it. My dogs will eat it regardless. They're not going to take 2 bites and be like, is this grain-fed?
Could you imagine?
Is she trying to kill us?
I know. It's like, do they wonder do they know what we go through? Do they really appreciate this?
I'm convinced that at least one of my dogs does, because Scout always comes to me and I always feel like he comes to me to say, thank you for taking such good care of me. At least that's what I hear. And so I'm always like, you're welcome. It's my absolute pleasure. Johan doesn't think that he's saying that, but I do.
It really is my pleasure, though, to be able to take care of them like this, to keep them healthy, and to see my gray-faced Penny running and jumping like a maniac on the sofa.
Yeah, isn't that like the best? I mean, I'm always pulling out my camera to try and take videos of Rodrigo running around. But by the time I get everything set up, he's like standing there looking at me like,
exactly.
What you doing?
Exactly.
Damn it. But it's just like, it's so satisfying, to have a senior dog and have them still be active, to have the veterinarian be like, yeah, I would not know. And with Rodrigo, he isn't even turning like the gray. He has a little tiny bit, but he's not turning gray. Mm-hmm. And then to have, Scout, he's coming up next week, will be 15 months post-diagnosis. And, and that's like really exciting too. It does. So it's just, I think finding the balance between doing enough and doing too much can be hard. And I don't notice it really with myself, but I notice it when I'm writing. Mm-hmm. And that's why it used to take me like a few hours to write a blog post. Now it takes me days to write a blog post because I'm constantly trying to put myself into the reader's shoes. And especially when I'm writing about Scout and cancer, because someone who comes across this either, just got a cancer diagnosis that day or within the past week or so, they are obsessively researching everything under the sun. And I don't want to give them a long list of things to do that they really don't need to do.
Right.
And so I'm trying to balance what I do with go to this website so you can learn all about, Chinese herbs and which ones are best for the type of cancer that your dog was diagnosed with. And it's not easy because now all of a sudden I've been writing these 3,000 word blog posts that is just like, good Lord, I hope someone's reading this.
Well, I just saw somebody on Facebook today that just got a lymphoma diagnosis for their dog. So my plan is to send them your dog.
Why, thank you. And it's so sad because I probably get a message from someone at least once a week that just got the diagnosis. And it's one of those where there's two types of people. Most of them are people who are new to everything. So new to raw feeding, new to just the concept of making things, or maybe they've heard about it, but now they're like back against the wall. They need to make a change. And then there are the people who are like me, who's been feeding raw all their lives and just feel betrayed.
Yeah.
Because their dog still got cancer.
Yeah.
Where was it? I can't remember where it was. I don't think it was on I don't think it was on my wall, but it was someplace where someone said, oh yeah, it was Dr. Connor Brady, where he shared it, where someone told him, since, this person's dog got cancer, I think she wasn't feeding raw for long. I think she had just started feeding raw, but basically maybe you should stop telling people that raw feeding will prevent cancer, because obviously it doesn't. And he's never said that. But although her messages were rude, I completely understood how she felt, or at least I think I did. Because it is, you feel so frustrated after working. And then you and I, who, it's not like we're just toying around. I mean, we're like getting in the trenches and doing work. I mean, we should probably have some type of certificate or something by now. And still, it's like, no, this is not okay.
Yeah, it's like, I was doing all the things. This wasn't supposed to happen. I know the feeling.
What else were we going to talk about? Oh, the Wunderball. Yes. So I don't have a Wunderball right now, but you know what it looks like. It smells. So when you take the plastic off, it does smell chemically. So I know that for a lot of people, that's an immediate turnoff, because they're going to basically see tons of chemicals going into their dog's mouth and poisoning their dog. But, it's a rubber. What was interesting to me is a lot of people, the feedback that I got was that, that this is dangerous, that it's, made in China, that the rubber is toxic to dogs. I would never give this to my dog, without really thinking about all the other things that we give to our dogs without giving it much thought, that are made from the same thing. And the first thing that I thought was the Chuck-It balls. I mean, I know that not everyone has Chuck-It balls in their homes. I have a huge basket full of them, and my dogs play with them on a daily basis, and they're fine. At least, knock on wood, they're fine. But I do understand with the Wunderball, it was very difficult getting my questions answered, because I wanted to know, like, what, is the rubber treated? Because, it's not so much that it's the rubber, it's the fact that it's treated so that it stays pliable a little bit. So was it treated with any chemicals to do that? They told me no. And I asked them, have you done any testing on the rubber to make sure that it's safe for dogs to have in their mouth? They did. They sent me the results of the test. I have no idea what I'm reading. So it was like, that was pointless. But what was interesting is you could tell that I was the first person to ask them these type of questions, because 2 of the emails included, we've sold over 800,000 of these things. And I'm just sort of like, I understand, but my followers are insane. So I have to ask these questions, because if I don't ask them, they're going to be very disappointed if I do a review and I didn't cover these topics. But ultimately, if they are to be trusted, and I do trust them, the product is perfectly safe. But what my issue would be is if you have a dog that's an insane chewer and destructor of everything under the sun, like every single thing that other people say, no, this is the one that is indestructible, your dog tears it apart in 5 seconds, then this is another toy that your dog doesn't get to have. But if your dog isn't going to chew on the ball, then, it's fine. What we basically, we got the extra large ones. And so we kick them around like a little soccer ball and the dogs chase them around. And that's basically what they do with them. I personally believe that I was wrong in buying 3 of them because my dogs don't play with them that much to justify $17 a ball. That was stupid of me. So, and I also wouldn't give it to a puppy simply because puppies can't be trusted. But otherwise, I think it's a kind of cool ball. My friend, her dogs love it. And someone else told me that her dog takes it and just throws it against a wall to make it bounce and just plays with it that way. And it's like, my dogs aren't that evolved. They will only play with it if I'm playing with them. So, but it is a kind of cool thing, but I can understand why people would have an issue with it.
So when you had started talking about this, Nino has these balls. I mean, he is obsessed with chewing his ball. I mean, he always has, the minute he gets out of the crate, I was looking to see if we had one in here, but I don't see one. He's got his ball, and we buy the smaller ones that have a 3-inch diameter. And so he can put that in his mouth and like flip it around. And sometimes he'll just sit there and just flip it in like circles and then like chomp, like flip, chomp, flip, chomp. And then he has these larger ones that are 4-inch diameter, and he just like chews like And sometimes we joke that it's like a pacifier for him because, sometimes he'll lay in bed and just kind of chew the ball until he like falls asleep. But it got me wondering because I remember doing, like, I think honestly my biggest concern is, that it was something, because he's had a history of swallowing something that he shouldn't have and having to have surgery to have it removed. So my bigger concern was I needed something that wasn't going to just come apart so easily. Mm-hmm. And I remember doing like a tiny bit of research, but it's the same thing where it's just those kind of natural rubber. And it has a weird, it's not a chemical smell. I don't know. It's probably like a fake, it smells sort of vanilla-y, but when you open it, but I'm like, this is probably not like that. Vanilla-y. So I've been wondering if I should reach out because I actually went on, so I usually order them on Amazon and I'll order like 3 at a time. And I saw that I have placed 16 orders for the 4-inch diameter balls. So, I mean, that's almost 50.
Where are all these balls?
Well, as soon as they get like a crack in them, we throw them away because he'll just chew them, and they'll start getting a split. And it's like, got to get rid of it because we don't want him to swallow it. And then the smaller ones, I don't usually buy them as frequently, but I think I had bought them like 8 times or something. And I mean, so we go through a lot of balls in this house.
I'm always curious about the people like on the other side that are like, wow, they really like these balls.
Yeah.
Because I kind of feel like whenever I go to Amazon to buy something and it comes up with this, the last time you bought this was here or something. It's sort of like when Netflix goes, are you still watching? It's like, stop judging me, right. Mind your own business. It's like, just be happy that I'm here. But yeah, it's one of those where I find it interesting, the level that everyone has when it comes to caring for their dogs and what's important for one person versus the other person. What I appreciated was there were no, I can't believe you would give something like that to your dog type of conversations, which is something that I usually expect. Whenever I mention any type of new product, I'm always surprised that someone doesn't come along to shame me for buying it. But so I appreciated that. I feel like, maybe we're evolving. But if I had to do it all over again, or I should say, I'm not buying anymore. And it's not because the Wunderball is a bad thing. It's just that my dogs don't seem to be interested in it. It's like, regardless of what it's made of or anything, my dogs, they'll play with it if I play with it. But if I take out a Wunderball and a Chuck It ball, it's the Chuck It ball all the way. Mm. And I think it's also because I was so worried about my dogs if they were able to break it apart. So I got the extra large ball. And it's heavy. So Scout can't comfortably walk around with it in his mouth for a long period of time. So he usually ends up just dropping it and walking away. $17.
Yeah, because he will like play games, like he will bat it around like soccer. He will
Oh.
like hide it in the blanket and then be like, like I've never seen a dog like create games for himself the way that he does. And then of course when Tim gets home every day, he's got to play in the yard. He's got to run and chase it. Like he gets a workout. That ball gets a workout. So I'm impressed by the durability, but I was having this whole line of thought of look how much time and effort I spend in their food and the vet and going to the chiropractor. And do I need to do a little more research on this thing that he has in his mouth, an hour a day, if not more?
I know it's so hard because I feel like if I research every single thing that I brought into this house, I would just never bring anything into the house. Right. It was just like, I would just come home, wrap my dogs up in bubble wrap and leave it at that. But it's so important. I mean, when I first started writing about, and posting about my Ray Dunn mugs, and I'm like, look I got a Ray Dunn mug. And, down in the comments, did that come from China? And it's like, leave me alone. Just let me enjoy my mugs. Please stop it. Yes, everything comes from China. Leave me alone, please. But yeah.
I mean, I said to Tim, like, if Nino ever ends up getting some kind of cancer of the mouth or something, we'll know what it's from.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and that's just the worst part is just like, oh man, if something bad happened, I mean, I swear social media will get right into your head when it comes to certain things. And if something bad happened, and then I would just feel horrible. But yeah, I mean, I think it's one of those where it's for some dogs and it's not for others. Apparently it's for over 800,000 dogs out there. It's just, my dogs they're just not excited about it. And I don't trust them with a smaller one. I don't think that they would be able to, I would be worried about someone swallowing it either purposefully or accidentally. So, I mean, even though the small ones are pretty big, but I don't know how that works. So, yeah.
So speaking of, trying to do the best you can, one of the things I'm always curious about, right, is EMFs in the house.
Yes.
And what do you do? Is that something that you worry about? Do you take steps to mitigate it? It's something I hear, you hear a lot about. And we have done some things, but it's something I'm always worried about. And I never know how much to trust the solutions that are out there because I'm never sure if there's really a way to measure if they're like actually doing anything. Mm-hmm. So what is your take on that?
I am resentful to every single person that had brought this up. I feel like they came out and dropped this bomb on us, and I have just gone into denial. My head is buried in the sand, and I've gone into denial because at first I was looking for products that reduced and soaked it in, mm-hmm. But I'm the person where I just assume that things work. I don't assume that it's a scam, but I've trained myself to start reading many, many reviews before I buy things. And again, it's like every single thing that I found, eventually in the reviews, you find people that are like, please don't buy this. This does not work. And there's no proof. Like you said, there's nothing. So I went through a period where I would turn off the Wi-Fi, like at nighttime, but we had an alarm system. So when we turned off the Wi-Fi, the alarm system would just beep sort of after a while to say, hey, something, you're not protected. Mm-hmm. And I would have to go in and shut off the alarm system, but eventually it would turn back on.
Oh my gosh.
And it was, and it was like, it was horrible. And so that didn't last long. So what I've done is I keep and I don't know if this even matters, but I take like my, the tower and I put it behind the TV, and I don't allow the dogs to like lay. I don't put a bed next to the TV or in front of that. It's off to the side. I mean, I know that I used to have a Wi-Fi extender, mm-hmm. and I took that out. So it's sort of like, if it's killing us, I don't need to extend it, make it go faster, which sucks because Wi-Fi extenders aren't cheap. And it's sitting in a drawer right now. And I basically pull it out if I'm doing something and I need to make sure that my Wi-Fi is is solid.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm being interviewed or something and I'm worried that my Wi-Fi is going to be sketchy, I'll pull it out. But otherwise, and I don't even know if it works, to be perfectly honest. I've gotten to the point where I don't know if anything works anymore, if it's just like a scam for me.
Yeah.
But it is a concern, and I would spend money on something that kind of toned it down. But I mean, I just don't. I sadly have become addicted to streaming.
Yeah.
And most of everything that we do, like, I don't know when the last time you bought a television, but I tend to be brand loyal. So like all my cars are Fords, all my TVs are Samsungs.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I buy a Samsung TV and you have to set it up, you need Wi-Fi and you're doing all these steps, and I have an account and I have to log into the account, which I never remember what the login is because it's not like I buy TVs every year. But, everything is, on Wi-Fi nowadays, and it's kind of sucks because it's just like, damn it. So I'm praying that, that the concern is truly something that's more like, if I live somewhere underneath a tower,
Right.
I don't know if you remember this because you might have been too young. It's not like it was long ago. I was young because I was like 25, 26, 27. And I was looking for a home with my ex-husband. We were married. And the biggest concern was buying a home underneath power lines,
Right.
because there was a higher risk of cancer, especially in children, when you lived underneath power lines. And so I sort of hope that as long as we don't live right next to a cell tower, that we have more protection than folks who unfortunately do live close to one.
Like we have done some things. I have bought some things. Again, do they work? I don't know.
Are any of the things you purchase crystals?
Yes.
Yes, I've done that too.
Yeah, we keep some black tourmaline right here. Right here. Yes.
I'm so happy that I'm not alone.
That's all, so I record in this room, which is my husband's gaming room, because we have the hardwired Ethernet in here. And so we keep all, but that's where the router is that projects the Wi-Fi. So yeah, we keep all this black tourmaline here, and we do actually have a dog crate in this room, and we have more black tourmaline around the crate, as well as some other crystals. And then I bought these things. There is a veterinarian named Dr. Tamara Hebler, and she has talked a lot about this. So she sells these things. I have one stuck on my cell phone here. And,
oh yeah, you showed me that.
And I have them like on my mouse at work, like my Apple Bluetooth mouse, and then we have these other things too, like this disc. And I don't know. Again, it's the same, I don't know, technology or whatever you want to call it, as the stick-on discs. This is a larger version that we keep it right next to the crate, and I keep it like on my desk at work. And even at work, I have some black tourmaline because my office is like right next to all the routers and the sticks of all the servers and everything, And so I'm always thinking about this. But yeah, at the end of the day, do I know if any of it works? I don't know. And they sell these EMF detectors on Amazon that are like, I don't know, maybe like $120 or something. And we have talked about buying one. See, my husband is somebody who thinks everything is a scam. Like, how do we even know if this works? Like, what is it? It could just be beeping. Like, we don't know. And so
your husband and I should just go shopping together.
Wouldn't buy anything.
I mean, that's basically how at first I'm like, oh my God, look at this. And then, social media gets in my head and I'm like, it's a scam.
Yeah, he just naturally thinks everything is a scam. But yeah, it's something I worry about. And we, from time to time, will turn the Wi-Fi off at night. But like, it's such a pain, and it's something that Tim has to do. So this is honestly why we stopped, right? Because Tim usually goes to bed before me. He would turn it off when he went to bed. I'm reading my Kindle and like trying to download a book, and I'm like, damn it!
That's why I stopped. So
I guess I don't know if I need to have like a convenience intervention with myself and say like, Erin,
It's hard.
yeah,
I mean, it's sort of like, when they started talking about shipping was slowing down, and I ordered something on, it was funny because a friend of mine had the same experience at the same time. I was ordering something on Amazon and it came back with, I got an email like later in the day, like, or no, it was Chewy. And you're not going to get it until like a week or so. I mean, come on, 7 days. And I was just like, absolutely not. I need it in 24 to 48 hours or I don't want it. And so I called them and was just like, can you cancel that? And they're like, yeah, we'll get it canceled. She's like, if we don't get it in time, just donate it. And I'm like, thank you. And they gave me my money back and I went and I got it off of Amazon, which delivered it the next morning. And I'm just sitting here like, that was horrible. I mean, talk about, just first world problems.
right.
I didn't need to have it. It was just something that I wanted for my dogs. And I mean, it's just like ridiculous. And then I ended up ordering it like a month later anyway and waited, and it was perfectly fine. Nothing bad happened. But I feel like technology, all of this stuff has ruined us. It's just sort of like, the whole thing with TikTok and Instagram where you're just scrolling on your phone and you don't have the attention span. I mean, I love YouTube. I love YouTube. I learned so much. And every day I think of something that I want to learn more about. So like the other day I was diving deep on broccoli sprouts, and I have tons of people that I follow. Love YouTube. But right now there's the Johnny Depp Amber Heard trial going on.
Oh yes, I'm familiar.
I don't know if you know who those people are, but every video that's doing a recap, if it's like 30 minutes and some people are like 3 and 4 hours long, I'm like, I don't have time for that.
That's the whole trial. That's
exactly. It's like a recap needs to be 7 minutes. You can tell me what happened in 7 minutes. If it's 30 minutes, that means that you're talking about other stuff and you need to just get to the point. And I'm just sitting here like, I used to be a person that could sit for 30 minutes and watch something. I mean, I used to be patient, but not anymore.
But also, like, is that really a judicious use of your time? Like, to spend 30 minutes? I mean, there's a lot of garbage.
Unless the 20 minutes is all information that I need to know and it's delivered in an entertaining way. If it's just people, because there's an attorney that I don't follow her, but she pops up all the time because I do follow other attorneys. And all of her videos are hours long. I mean, whether there's a trial or no trial, and I'm just sitting here like, does anyone sit and watch 3 hours of you talking? And I've tried with her shorter videos. I've tried to sit and listen because she's very popular, but I can't because she like whatever the title is, it's like, when are you going to get to it? Please put timestamps so I can just go to 5 minutes, blah, blah, and see and go about my day. And it just aggravates me. But again, I used to be fine with that. And I don't know when it changed, but I just have zero tolerance or patience with. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I don't like about YouTube is like, first it's like, hit that subscribe button.
I know.
And then it's like 5 minutes of telling you what they're going to tell you.
Yes.
And then they actually tell you, and then they're summarizing what they told you because they got to get to that 10-minute mark, know, and then you're getting like commercials interspersed. And like, I don't have time for that.
Yes.
I don't have time for that.
Yeah, I know. I was watching a video. I don't even know what the video was about. I'm sure if I think about it, it'll come up, but it was not about what happened. So it's a content creator that I think is hilarious. And so I'm following her, and her video was recapping like probably a TV show or something, but like 3/4 of the way through, or maybe half of the way through, she starts talking about she got a third dog. Yay. And that's the only reason why I continued watching it, was because it was about a dog. If it had been anything else, I would have been out. But she went on for like 5+ minutes about the, I guess, what would you call it? It was like not a gender reveal party, but it was like a, hey, we got another dog reveal party. And it was like a huge, like, games and costumes and all kinds of stuff for this party. So I was kind of fascinated with that as well. But it was kind of like, wow, you just interrupted your own video to talk about something that has nothing to do with nothing. And then you went back to the video. And the only reason why I stuck around is because she's really entertaining. But there are other people who might do the same thing. And I'm like, nope.
Yeah.
I don't care about this. I want to hear, how is Johnny Depp doing? Is he okay?
So, funny story. I hadn't paid like a ton of attention to it, the trial, but today, for some reason, I kind of stumbled on it. It was kind of like streaming on Facebook. And it was this like forensic psychologist who had interviewed Amber Heard and had like all these diagnoses for her. And like, oh boy, did I get sucked into that.
Oh, I bet you I'm going to have to find that. And okay, so is it weird that this is streaming live like everywhere? Because I can't think of any trial that's done that. I mean, unless it was a criminal trial.
Yeah, well, okay, yes, it is odd, I guess, for a civil trial. You're right. I can't think of a ton of civil trials that are streamed, but apparently Johnny Depp like wanted it streamed, and or, like he like fought for it, and Amber did not, which makes sense.
And I'm really curious to know, when this is all said and done, regardless of how it falls out, like, what will her career look like?
What will either of their careers look like? Even if he wins the lawsuit, will it really bring his career back? I don't know. I mean, he is so talented that maybe it would, but I don't even know what she's been in. So,
oh, that's what's so funny is she's been in Aquaman. I know she's been in other things, but I just know that she was in Aquaman and she was in the Justice League. So she had a small role in Justice. I'm the comic book person. and for anyone who's at all interested, I prefer Marvel to DC, but I will watch a DC flick. And unlike the rest of the world, I thought the Justice League was really a lot of fun. But the Zack Snyder cut was phenomenal. 4 hours. It took me 2 days to watch it. No movie should be that long, but if it is going to be that long, it needs to be by Zack Snyder. It was fantastic. But so she was in that. But it's funny to me because every time I actually feel sad for her. I mean, regardless of what type of person she is or what she did or anything, I feel sad for her because all of this is so public.
Yeah.
And she's obviously, has some type of stuff going on in the head, where that comes from. I have no idea. I'm a dog owner. I don't know.
I just feel like they both have a lot of like trauma.
Yeah.
And they really just brought out the worst in each other.
Yeah.
And, I've known people like that, and it's like, whew.
And it's sad.
It's just sad all the way around. And, and I was having this whole conversation with Tim where it's like, I mean, there was a time when Johnny Depp was like the hottest guy, like on top of the world. I mean, he's been in so many amazing movies, like, and yet it just goes to show like how like money literally doesn't buy you happiness.
Yeah.
And it's like, wherever you go, there you are. Like you're always carrying your stuff with you, no matter what your life looks like. And I was like, instead of buying like an island in the Bahamas, like should have bought some therapy.
Maybe.
But
I know the actor that I love that has had a lot of stuff going on and I have such admiration for is Robert Downey Jr. Because, he was the star when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so I followed him and, like the Brat Pack and, my favorite was, and I can't remember his name right now. I don't know why I can't remember his name, but McDreamy.
Patrick, is that
Patrick Dempsey? Yeah. Yeah. I loved him when I was a kid. But Robert Downey Jr., I mean, he was like I'm sure all of them were great, but he was like, when he acted, and he was the reason why he jump-started my love of movies, because I recognized that whenever I would watch something with him in it, man, he just drew me in. And I was just like, how can anyone in any healthy way do these roles? Because it's just like, it's got to get to you. And I just remember the time when he was so high that I think he went to his old house and fell asleep in the kids' room or something.
Oh
like
gosh.
the family found him like sleeping in a bunk bed.
Oh.
And I mean, it's just like, but to see, he had the lowest of lows, right, and he came back from it. And so it's just sort of like, I'm always curious about, in this world with social media, can people, because he could just go away and get the help that he needs. Whereas today, like, I mean, we're totally off topic, but today, like with Will Smith, it's like, it's hard to recover from that. Like if this had been 30 years ago, he would just go away. And within a year, we would remember it, but it wouldn't be the talk of the town.
We wouldn't have seen it 8,000 times.
Exactly.
Trying to.
Exactly. I mean, it's just like, he would go away and then he would start doing like small indie roles and work his way up until he was a big star again. Right. And then we would admire him for how far he came and that he took care of himself and stuff. But when you have social media, it's like you can't get away from yourself. Yeah. I'm so glad I'm not a celebrity. I wonder whatever happened to their dogs.
Amber Heard's dogs?
Oh, I know. What did happen? I did see that she tried to get him into Australia. She did take him to Australia and lied about it or something. I hope she still has those dogs. I always feel like whenever celebrities get dogs, that it's just sort of like they get bored with them and the dogs just end up like whatever happened to Paris Hilton's, all of her chihuahuas.
Yeah.
Or the Kardashians. They've always had dogs hanging around and stuff in the background. It's like, where are those dogs at?
Because they travel so much. I mean, especially like actors and actresses, they're like away for months at a time. And
I feel like their assistants and stuff end up with dogs.
Dogs, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so just random. That was a fun detour.
We got back to dogs. That's all. I
know. Well, that was a fun conversation. Thanks, Erin.
Thank you.